Yep, we on. It's a little bit of a testing. Got to test a little bit. Clean up. You see, I put more of my books up behind me. You know, most of these books up behind me was gifts. You know, you got some good friends when they give you books. But thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe. I'm here to talk to y'all about money and how it relates to black peoples or so-called Negroes and people that went through or whose ancestors experienced slavery, physical slavery in this country and free labor for hundreds of years. And I want to address something. It's the elephant in the room. And one thing I want y'all to understand is that, all right, listen, for the lack of better terms, I'm going to say freed from slavery, but we know that the shit ain't free yet. Okay? The reason why these Jews censor us in particular, when we say things about them, let me tell you why, because we don't know our history. Let me tell you, Jews got books, boy. They got all their literature. They know their history. They were an intricate part in the Underground Railroad. And now we can see why they helped. We can see why they were Negro sympathizers back then, because they wanted for us to sympathize with them. Now they saw the future. They said, if we sympathize with them now, if we show fake empathy now, later they'll be indebted to us. And when they say things about us, we'll censor them and such and such. So when they censor black people for saying things, that's because they made agreements with a lot of our people on the Underground Railroad, alliances. And niggas were not in a position to contract. We were in no capacity to contract. Anybody making a deal with the Negro is a villain. You wicked. That's like making a deal with a child over a piece of candy. And you know he gonna choose the candy every time. This child, he don't want nothing but the candy. He don't, based on what society is teaching this child to like. Even though grown people like candy too. But when you think about candy, you think about a baby. It's easier than taking candy from a baby. You feel what I'm saying? But what happens when you take that candy from that baby? The baby cries. Man, this shit is deep. Listen, we're getting into a deep topic right now. So they sympathize with us throughout slavery. They've used their voice to speak against it. In fact, many of the people who were of the Union, who were of the North at the times in the mid 1800s. Let me say that. Before the Civil War, the people in the North, because it was all one Union, but the people in the North, in comparison to the Confederates in the South, were more Jewish. The people in the South, let me give you, man, listen, and I got proof. New York, Massachusetts, New England, the lawyers, this is where the Jews were populating themselves. And then places like, for example, Georgia. Georgia was the last state, the last colony in 1847 to enter the Union before the Civil War. Civil War happens, and the Union feels like Georgia ultimately slapped them in the face because they had been part of the Union for less than 20 years and declared war against the Union. The thing is, the people in the South was a little bit more conservative, less liberal, and more ignorant. Georgia was started as a state of debtors. Okay, this is how I know the motherfuckers down south is a little bit more ignorant, because Georgia was started as a colony where the people who owed King George money had to go. So if you owed King George money and you was incompetent or you was bad with your finances, you had to go to Georgia. Jews wasn't in Georgia. The Jews was good with their finances. The Jews was good with their finances. In fact, when King George asked for his money, or when the creditors of England asked the British colonies for their money back after the American Revolution, the Americans discharged their debt because they were owed more money due to winning the war than the English creditors were owed due to loaning them money to colonize America. So they discharged their debts to England. But they were still all one family. But I'm going to break something down to you. When they say freed the slaves, they didn't do it so that you could be running around here free, physically. When they freed the slaves, they did it because they saw a more intricate way to keep us in bondage. And by applying this intricate way and putting money into our circulation, they enslaved us financially by keeping us reaching for money so we could pay the bills for the things that we don't own and have no control over. They wanted to flip the switch. The South didn't want to. Okay, they went to war. Did the South lose? Well, let me ask you a question. When Muammar Gaddafi was killed, could his sons and his family fly his flag after that? I think they killed his sons. When Saddam Hussein was murdered, did they keep flying his flag through Iran? When bin Laden was murdered, did they keep flying his flag through Afghanistan? No, because the Americans took that shit over. And they put their flag in the dirt. And they said, take your fucking flag out the dirt. When Napoleon lost, could France fly their flag in all the places that he conquered? When Britain lost the war to American British colonies, did they keep flying the British flag over here, or did they get rid of the British flag and make their own flag? This is my point. So if the South lost the war, then why for so many years were they able to keep flying their Confederate flag? And they still could fly it without being punished. Why? Because they didn't lose. They compromised. It's like watching a movie when you see two guys fighting at the bar and they hitting each other. It's over. They look at each other. And they both just leave, stumbling away, both bloody, dripping, but they both whooped each other. But somebody won. The movie the scene ends with the guy on top. He about to hit him one last time, and he stops. I can't hit my brother like that. And he knows, the one on the ground, he knows. I was watching King Kong last night. Godzilla stomped King Kong in the chest. Looked at him. Said, I just yelled at him. King Kong looked at him and yelled back. And then just passed out, right? And then they had to put the ship on him and blow the ship up with the electric charge to have a big enough charge to hit King Kong's heart and spark him back to life, because Godzilla stomped him out, stared him down, told him, just my shit. That's the equivalent to what the North did to the South. Except Godzilla wanted to kill King Kong. The North didn't want to kill the South. The North wanted the South to fucking get with the business. So they compromised. They said, listen, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist except where the party shall be duly convicted of the crime. And then it says Congress shall have the power to enforce. Whew, that's heavy. That means slavery, okay, the North got what they wanted. Slavery, physical slavery, and involuntary servitude shall not exist. On the other hand, if one of these niggas breaks one of these laws, one of these hundreds of laws, thousands and millions of laws that we got on the books, if one of these niggas breaks one of these laws, he is going back into slavery. And don't tell me that the Caucasian man was subject to the same thing, or is. He's not. He's not. Because if you know your language, Caucasian man, you could slither up out of anything in the court system. You got to know your language. They never omitted free white persons from the language of the United States. They never have removed that language, omitted it, repealed it. They have never repealed free white persons. In fact, the things that they have repealed that sounded so fucking foul to say out your mouth, so they had to just get rid of them, they just changed the language on them. So where you put slave, you put prisoner. Sometimes instead of putting prisoner, you put vessel. Sometimes instead of putting vessel, you put land. See, because they described us as property. So a slave owner back then could have a slave that was equivalent to a house, equivalent to, he's a vessel. He's a title. He's land. I could use this motherfucking nigga however I want to use him to pay off my debt. Because everything's free, because I'm a free white person. That's what it means to be free, to get everything for free at the full faith and credit of the United States, which is a bankrupt foreign corporation to the people that we started in order to do business with other countries that indebted to other states, especially after the Civil War. When you go to war, what you need to do? You need to reconstruct. So when the South supposedly lost the war and they asked the North for money, they said, look, North, we need money to reconstruct our states because we went to war and we lost, and now the states is fucked up. And who's paying the price? The people. So we need money, federal government. The federal government said, okay, we'll give you some money, but you got to become a 14th Amendment citizen, states and the niggas. You niggas and you states got to be 14th Amendment citizens for you states to get federal income for reconstruction. It says it in the 14th Amendment. And any claim or lawsuit that you bring up against the United States government based on your insurgence against the government, it will be seen as illegal and void. It says it word for word in the 14th Amendment, in more clarifying words, I should say. So let's just be clear. The 14th Amendment was created for two purposes: for the Negro to have a citizenship and for the southern states to readmit back into the Union. But let me prove the compromise even further. Not only did the South get to keep flying their flag, not only did none of these motherfuckers get hung for war crimes, against the original people and their own brethren. Not only that, but in 1891, not only that, they gave us the 14th Amendment in 1868. Can't forget about that, 1868. And then introduced all these laws that you're subject to in 1874. And then in 1891, established the three-prison system, which led to the mass incarceration of black people in this country. Prior to 1891, 1865, just between that time, prior to the 1860s, there was no high population of black people in jail because we were slaves. The entire population was in bondage, in slavery. There was no prisoner. There was no 13th Amendment that says there's no slavery and this person shall be a prisoner slave. There was none of that. There was only slavery and prisoner. And do you know, in order for a white man to go to prison back then, he had to do something to another white man. If he killed a nigga and he went to jail, he didn't go to jail for murder. He went to jail for destruction of a white man's property. Vandalization, what have it. So what I'm trying to explain to you is that when they saw us as people, they had to create prisons based on the compromise and the deal that they made with the South. They said, listen, we'll give you the prisons, but you're going to let these niggas go. Why? Now, let me give you the twist. Blackman, who wants your reparations, who's asking for reparations, stop it. You got your reparations. Do you know what it is? Free. Not freedom. Free, motherfucker. Call yourself free. Don't say you got freedom. You don't got freedom. What you do got is free. And when you got the free, then you can keep yourself from looking dumb. Because I'm telling you right now, the free The free is everything. Everything is free. Let me explain. Allow me to further explain. When you go to the post office and you buy mail and you pay the United States Postal Service to send mail for you, it's actually you're depositing. It's a deposit that you put into the USPS. So you pay them, it's a deposit. They're a bank. And what happens is the USPS, they're going to issue you something as a withdrawal instantly. They're not going to hold your money. You making the deal. You saying I'm paying for this service. I'm depositing for this service. Now withdraw the service. Discharge the service. So now they're going to discharge your service by what? By sending your mail out. But when you send your mail out and you send it with one of these, now you're creating another service. See, you got a receipt when you buy, when you get mail. Man, where the other piece to this? The other piece, I ripped it off. When you get mail, it come with the. I hate doing it halfway, man. When you get mail, okay, and you get this is a receipt. Certified mail receipt. This, though, is a return receipt, which means when they receive, okay, so this is your deposit. You make a deposit, and then they withdraw it and mail it for you. So your deal with the USPS is done. Your business with them has been completed. You gave them your obligation. They accepted it for value in exchange for another obligation of equal value, but they can't give you money for money. So it's a special deposit. So now we go and we give this and we write special deposit, okay? So that way when they get this is another special deposit which hasn't been discharged. When you get this back, that's not the discharge for this instrument. That's the deposit. The deposit for this instrument is saying it was delivered. It's been deposited. Now, where's my withdrawal? The withdrawal is to whoever you deposited this with. Now, if you own business, if it's just regular mail, this don't matter. It do if it's in court, if you got somebody in court. But when you're dealing with business, because court is business, but when you're dealing with business, police, government, they all are a business. So they're all in business. And when you send one of these to them as a special deposit, look up special deposit. They have to provide you back the equal value for this, but not the same thing. So they can't send your piece of mail back, return the sender, and say, we gave you your value. No, I want my value back for this card right here. Now, if it cost me $10 for this card, I want my $10 back in a check. And do you know when you get a government check because one of them motherfuckers forgot to talk, that's money. That's money. An officer, a government official, anybody under an oath of office does not have the right to remain silent. See, this is why the Jews is mad at us. That we keep getting on there and talking crazy, not knowing that they are a monkey in the middle. They not on the opposite end throwing blows at you. They the monkey in the middle that's saying everybody get your money, but we gonna control it. Now, that's where you should have a problem with them, trying to control your money, not your voice, because motherfucker, the only reason you got a voice on TV is because they said let them go. You should be thanking the Jews because they are the reason that we are out of the chains. We ain't out of slavery, but we out of chains. And you should be happy that you ain't in a motherfucking chain. So guess what? I ain't gonna thank the Jews for rap music. I ain't gonna thank these motherfuckers for no religion. I ain't gonna thank them for no type of money, nothing. I'm gonna thank you because guess what? You are the ones who were the liberals, who saw your future and my future, and you said, listen, they got to get out of there. Otherwise, my future, the Jews know their future was an imminent destructive path. The whole free white race, because free white only started in 1790. Just to let you know, white people started in 1790. That's an American invention. And when they invented it, they intended it for it to last. So the Jews said, we need to make this free white shit last. And as long as you keep them in chains, we can't make it last because we can't control them like that. You listen, own everything and own nothing and control everything. We don't need to own them. We need to control them, so let them go. Abraham Lincoln said, I don't free the slaves because I care about the slaves. I free the slaves because I care about the union and what the union thinks. And who's the union? What's a union? A union is when you get together and you pay dues. It's a business. The Union of the United States is no different than, or the Union of the several states, which is called the United States, is no separate than a carpenters union or an electricians union, IBEW, a local Teamsters union. These are all the same thing. It's all the same thing. It's all one union because the first union in this motherfucker was the Union of the several states. And in every state that wants to be, anybody that wants to be a union has to incorporate under the parent union. So, what am I saying? I'm saying thank you for giving us the money. Giving us the money. This is the money. The money ain't the money you working for. The money's already at your disposal. Dispose of it. You don't, listen, if you got $1, you got $1 forever. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. Listen, if I go and I say, damn, I got to pay for this mail. If it's my last $20 and I mail this out, and now this punk motherfucker don't want to send me my shit back, don't want to write me back, respond to my mail, even though my mail is certified going to get my $20 back. But you don't want to give my 20, okay, I'm going to go send this to the Treasury to get my money back. And you have no jurisdiction over that because I already fulfilled my obligation to the post office by paying for this. You haven't fulfilled your obligation by responding to this and paying it back. Discharge my return. Discharge it. You've already deposited it. What does that mean, deposit? That means you've accepted it. As soon as you've got it and you get something, as soon as you get something back from the government, as soon as you get something back from the government, let me give you an example, and they sign it, as soon as you get something back from the government and they sign it, it's a negotiable instrument. Go look at your dollars. Every dollar you got a signature on it of the treasurer. Because that's your negotiable instrument that could be used to pay for your private or public debts. It's the legal tender. The states can't make nothing but gold and silver coin for legal tender. So when they make a form of legal tender, anything of the United States of value is legal tender. And anything of the United States of value is something that the United States government prints. Something that they print. One of their forms that they filed for you. That's money. So if I got a return receipt, it's a U.S. form, they filed for me. It's money. It's filed, it got signed. However, did I get paid for my money yet? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. So I need my second obligation fulfilled. And now we know. See, obligations is where we have gone wrong. What is your obligation? They not obligated to pay you. In fact, they're obligated not to tell you shit because, listen, we gave them this chance to clean themselves up and come among us. And they have sworn to not, they have sworn to not be obligated to help you do something that you taught them how to do. They have no obligation to teach you something that you taught them how to do. In fact, they have an obligation to withhold teaching you certain things because it's destructive to their own people. And you have an obligation to be right, but you also have an obligation not to go against your own grain. That's your ultimate obligation, to go with your nation, to not go against your nation, because one and that could be seen in different angles, because all nations is one nation. And sometimes you got one motherfucker that'll do something that'll harm the whole nation or seen as harmful, but it's not made to last. The only thing that's made to last is the truth. The only thing that's made to last is the truth, man. And the truth is the obligation, right? A truth is obligation. What's the truth? What do you? The truth is an obligation to tell the absolute facts. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God. That's an obligation. The truth is an obligation, just like the lie is an obligation. When somebody lies, they got an obligation to uphold the lie, because if it comes out that what they said was a lie, boy, their head could be taken off. It's all about the angle you from. See, God got his obligation and the devil got his obligation. For you religious people, it tells you. Even the devil himself was one of, or the angel of evil or wickedness was an angel of heaven. See, all that means to me is, depending on what angle you looking at something, you'll find its usefulness, whether it be righteousness or wickedness. Its usefulness. So, for example, a sword. I'm going to give you another example of it. A sword. Now, some people have swords to conquer and kill and offend. That's unlawful. It's live by the sword, die by the sword. And then you got some people that don't live by the sword, but they want to protect their life with the sword. They live by the peace, die by the peace. Protect himself by the sword, though, in self-defense. See, at that angle, that's heaven. But at the first angle, you're dealing with hell. The pen. The pen can be used to write righteous things, but people use the pen to write so much wickedness and foolishness. And it started with the propaganda. It started with Germany and started with these motherfuckers, man. They write the propaganda, you believe it, and then you got books like this, where somebody got a pen, pulled a pen, typewriter, whatever it was, and they wrote some shit out that could help you become a better person. So you got angles. You got angles. Just like you got angels. You feel what I'm saying? So, depending on what angle you coming from or the point of view you seeing things from, you might think that things are normal. But there's an elephant in the room. And this is why you will get censored. This is why niggas don't know pretty much nothing. You know, we don't really know nothing. A motherfucker will tell you to pray about it, but won't tell you what to do about it. And this is where we at as a people. So, I'm here to let y'all know that the first form of money in this country was the labor of a black man. What does it say? Free labor? That's why they call it a free country. Because you didn't have to do the labor. You could have a nigga do it. Legally. The more I speak and the more I think, the more I realize how much of a reality this shit is. And it's stressful. Listen. I'm trying to stay on topic. I was thinking about something. Clear my thoughts real quick. Okay, so got money, right? I read this book back in the day. I think I was at one of the God's house. It's like a book about, it's like a Jewish childhood book. And when I opened it and read it, it's like a grandfather sitting with his grandson. His grandson came in there flipping the coin. Fling, look what I found, Grandpa. And he's like, oh, grandson, come here. Let me tell you about this. Do you know what you have? His grandson like, yeah, silver. That's what he told his granddaddy. It's silver. It's a piece of silver. It's a Jewish folktale book. Remember this. The grandfather looked at his grandson and said, no, you're wrong. That's not silver. That's money. He said, that's money. See, and black people, we see the shiny things as silver, metal. We want to wear it. We want to wear the gold. We don't want to use the gold as leverage. The gold is money. Damn it. Silver's money. Motherfuckers, oh, I'm going to invest in gold and let it sit. Motherfucker, I'm going to use the gold and flip it. You going to let your gold sit. I'm going to let my gold sit too, except I'm going to leverage my shit. Now ask me how you do that. See, they never got rid of slavery. Just like when slavery was here, when the physical bondage and niggas living on plantations, you had a number. Did you know that? You had a number. Did you know that? When you left the plantation to go to town to get something for your master, you had a hall pass. Did you know that? You had to have a license. Did you know that? And your license had a number with an address that said, this slave lives here, this his slave number, and boom. Facts. Woo! Facts, homie. Slavery driver's license numbers. There was no such thing as ID number for anybody else. You had an identification, and you was counted for when the census started. If you went to the Census Bureau and put yourself, or you voted, they counted you. However, did they codify you? Who is the codified people? Who are these penal codes for? We're the codified people. Black people are the code people. When they talk to us in code language, quotations. They don't talk to us in layman's. They don't talk to us normal. They talk to us in legalese. They talk to us code. You gotta know the codes. You gotta know their code language to decode it. You have to know the code to decode it. You don't gotta know their code to know your code, motherfucker. Your code should be righteousness. You gotta know their code to decode their code, goddammit. Because they got a code. It's called the Penal Code or the U.S. Code. And you can look up these codes, and they are all referring to your black ass or the government. Now think about that. Think about this. There was no such thing as a concealed permit license or a CCW until after 1865. When the South turned on the North, allegedly, they saw that as rebellion. They saw that as I was going to say the equivalent, but there's no equivalent to a slave revolt. So they saw the Confederate States revolting as like a little baby revolution from slaves, even though it was niggas fighting in the North and the South. But they saw that as a baby revolt. They said, well, damn, y'all are a bad example for these niggas. You slave states are a bad example for the niggas because you're giving them confidence. You're letting them think that they could fucking have a civil war in this country. You need to stop that shit. In fact, you don't even need to have a gun. Southern states, slaves. Why you niggas need guns? We the North. I'm the North. Why do you niggas down south and use Confederate states need guns when all you want to come do is kill me and run me out of town? Now, the slaves in this Confederate states got two different reasons to come kill me. That's the problem. I don't know who. When you got more than one enemy, it's a problem because if somebody kill you, don't nobody know who fucking killed you. So, or why you got killed. So now the motherfucking, there's too many enemies for me in the North. So I got to do like this. I got to punish both you niggas simultaneously with the same punishment. So, Confederate states, you got to follow the same rules as the niggas. That's your punishment. You got to follow the same rules as the niggas, which means you need to go get a CPL. Every police has to have a CPL, right? Every officer has to have a CPL right now. Does every civilian need a CPL? It's been found unconstitutional in so many states. And then you still got some states that make you want to have a CPL. They still pushing slave codes to this day. Don't get it fucked up. It ain't been that long. They still pushing slave codes, and white families are still collecting money on insurance from slavery insurance policies. You want to bet? Look up slavery insurance era. In any state, you got slavery insurance that you could look up and find somebody with your family with their last name and make an insurance claim because somebody put a bond on your motherfucking great-great-granddaddy and cashed out on the fucking bond. And bonds make, sometimes they make 25%. It depends. 6%. They make a percent of interest as they sit there in the treasury for that person to cash out when their obligation is fulfilled. Don't fucking play with me. I've been studying. So, slavery's still cracking. As long as you got a driver's license number, as long as you need a CCW or a CPL, black man, slavery ain't over. That's for them. We never revolted. We never rebelled. We never did a rebellion in America. So why are we getting treated and punished the same way the people who did rebel? Why do we get punished like the Confederate States? We didn't rebel against the country. We've never revolted or attempted an insurgence against this country, and we probably never will, because it ain't about the fight. Don't you know fights are won without lifting a finger? What make you think we don't got no guns? We not skilled at combat? They know this though. I'm not saying nothing they don't know. So why do what you doing? Because we need you, black man. We need you to work for us, and you'll never work for us if we allow you to just be free. So what we gonna do is we gonna find out how to just be free. We don't want freedom. We want free. Free everything, motherfucker. Free everything. If it came from the government, it's free. Free, 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 free. Franklin D. Roosevelt said there's no such thing as money. The country is bankrupt. Richard Nixon came out with the motherfucking Federal Reserve note. Free, 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 free. Full faith and credit. So anything you get, and I'm showing this as an example because this is the best example I got. They even made the motherfucker green. This is money. Anything that say United States on it is money. Everybody else shit is private. But if it say United States on it, it say, and it got your name on it, or it got something to do with you, you got security interest in anything that say United States on it, then you could cash that motherfucker out. Don't pay for nothing. Or pay for it, but don't pay for nothing without asking for your shit to be withdrawn. This is our problem. We don't understand banking. We make so many deposits. We make all these deposits without making withdrawals. And they got it in their laws that they could keep your deposit for 5 years. And if you don't withdraw it in 5 years, they're going to withdraw it to the Treasury in the public trust. So then all that shit that you left there, it's a fucking donation. If you win a ticket, lose a ticket, I don't give a fuck what it is. It's money for you in this system. It's money for you in this system. Let's figure out the free. Just talking to the God earlier. The unity is not in us coming together and working together. It's not the unity. The unity, see, because that's not what's going to bring us. What's going to make us work together is the unity. See, once we start working together, we're united. But what's going to cause us to unite? It's the law. The law is the unifying aspect for all. Black, brown, yellow, white, everybody in between, motherfucker. Everybody is subject or is under some form of law, or is restricted by some form of law. Everybody on this motherfucking country, everybody in this territory of the United States of America is subject to this shit. Not to the United States, but everybody here is subject to some type of restriction, some type of regulation, whether it's your own restrictions and regulations and morals and values. These are the things that are going to unite us, the laws. And how are these people who execute these laws executing them? How are the people that are writing these laws legislating them? How are the people that are judging these laws judicially administering them? And once we learn that, because it says it in every constitution that all political power is inherent within the people, so why can't we judicially administer? You can. How, though? Can we unite? That's the unifying question for me. How do you administer judicially? How do you execute the legislate? How do you write laws and get them passed? How do you petition and grieve the government? And these are things that we need to be fucking knowing, and this is the most important key aspects. We don't understand our real rights. So I'm finna sign off. It's the elephant in the room. Money. The black man. It's the elephant. Woman to leave you because you don't got money. Cars break down because you ain't got money. Children to starve because you ain't got money. Money, 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 money. Is it the money that we don't got? Or is it the knowledge that we don't got? I think it's the knowledge. Because the money is free. Everything is free. And they said you free. They said you free. You free. Go get your money. Not your paper. Don't be stupid. Nigga, you'll never have enough money than the motherfucker that prints it. You'll never have more money than the motherfucker that prints it. That motherfucker that's pointing at you in that picture. That's why you need to learn how to circulate your dollar. Because the dollar ain't nothing but a fucking piece of paper that you could use as legal tender, public and private. Exchange that shit. Exchange it for something that's the same value that you want. And then get it back when the obligations aren't met on the other's end. That's all I'm saying. So give people duties. Tell them what to do. When they don't do it, get your fucking money back if they don't fucking do it, boy. And then see what they do. See, I learned you don't got to say default. You don't got to say default. You know, default is interchangeable. I'm going to give you the words. Dispose. To get rid of. That's what happens when you default. What about dismiss? Right? If I dismiss something, I'm getting rid of it. That's a default. What about discharge? Okay. I discharged it. I charged it and then I discharged it. I got rid of it. Withdraw. Okay. You go take money to the bank, you put it in, and then the bank, they push it back out. They withdraw it to you. They don't deposit it to you because you deposited it to them. How the fuck they going to deposit it to you? No, you going to make a withdrawal with them. They accepted something from you. You'll accept something from them, which is pretty much a deposit too. They'll redeposit it back to you. But this is money. Deposits and withdrawals. Charges and discharges. Notices and defaults. Motions and dismissals. Let's go. We on one, baby. What's another word for motion? Proposal. Petition. When you say petition the government, that's like saying motion to the government. Motion, petition, proposal. And that's the thing. In the UCC, it says proposal. Proposal means petition. Petition means motion. You got to know how to interchange these words legalese because that's the trick they play on us. They don't teach us that these words is interchangeable. So you be reading one law and not knowing that you just read the same law, but it was different, dealing with a different aspect of life. The laws of land are the same laws as the laws of vessels. You have the same right to go get any real property. It's just different real properties. You got vessels, you got instruments, you got bonds, you got certificates. It's different types of real property. You are real property. Your name is real property. Your birth certificate is real property. Who owns it? Who owns it? You didn't print that motherfucker. The government did. So it's money. Your birth certificate's money. It's by default. It's anything issued from the government with a signature is money. Now, is it a bond? I could cash out my birth certificate. I ain't say that. I'm not leading you down that path. I'm just telling you anything issued by a United States government agency or a state subdivision, incorporated state, anything printed by them is money. It's them obligating themselves on a signature saying that what they're saying is true and correct, and if it's not, then anything you say or do will be held against you in the court of motherfucking law. But instead of saying that to them, it's already an assumption that officers will tell the truth because the officer of the law cannot lie. That's against his oath. So it's assumed that he's telling the truth. So when they write you something, it's not a questionable obligation. It's in fact a direct obligation, and it's worth money. And if you don't get paid for it, they are embezzling